So good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. Today is September 21st. It is 6 p.m. in the evening and I'd like to call that meeting to order. I am Mayor Bob Severns and I'm first going to invite you to stand and join us tonight in an invocation led by Pastor David Parker from the First United Methodist Church, and immediately following the invocation, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Parker?
Thank you, Mayor and council members and fellow citizens. I'll remain seated for the prayer just so that I can be close to the microphone and then stand. Let's pray. Lord God, we are reminded tonight of the gift we steward in democratic governance. You are a good Father who has entrusted us with stewarding our community life, our neighborhood welfare, our economic viability, and our educational proficiency, even our safety network sustainability, and our joint civic and civilian responsibilities. All of these things we gather for the good tonight. We come before you this evening thanking you for our mayor and for all of our council members. We thank you for our city administration and the support staff. We're also grateful, God, for our first responders, our police, our fire and medical personnel, all of them who protect, defend, and support the greater good of our community. May this gathered council tonight come under the favor and the blessing of heaven. May they serve the needs, the vision, the challenges, and the opportunities of the people and the systems within our municipality. Grant them probing, polite, and professional conversations that will afford the highest and the greatest accuracy of all of the important decisions that they will be making tonight. Give our citizenry discerning wisdom in the forthcoming elections when once more we will seat a new council team to continue the important work of uniting all of our different diversities, disciplines, and devoted pursuits into a healthy whole for the fabric of our Oak Harbor family. I ask all of these blessings in the just, merciful, and the life-giving name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Parker. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So due to COVID-19, this will be both a physical meeting location and a virtual meeting per Washington Proclamation 20-28. Due to Governor Inslee's most recent order, masks are required for everyone in council chambers, regardless of vaccination status. City staff are participating via teleconference. Guests that are included in staff presentations will be excused from the Ring Central meeting at the conclusion of the agenda item as appropriate. Tonight's meeting may be viewed live via YouTube and on cable channel 10, HD 1090. Before we get to the roll call, I would like to say a few words, and I know I have a comment period, but I also am not actually virtual this evening, and I would prefer to be, but for this meeting and tomorrow's workshop, I'll be just participating via the speaker here. So I certainly can see who is in chambers, can see your hands when they are raised. I want to thank our community, though, for seeing me through a longer recovery period than expected. A special thanks to Mayor Pro Tem for coming into so many meetings in my absence. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and special thanks to Council for your understanding. The citizens, I'll touch a little bit in my regular comments. With that, let's go on to the roll call, and will Clerk Julie please do the roll call for this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Present.
Councilmember Heisen.
Present.
Councilmember Servadius.
Present.
Councilmember Wassinger.
Present.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Present.
Councilmember Mack.
Present.
Councilmember Goebel. Mayor,
I believe Councilmember Goebel can hear, but I do not believe she can unmute herself.
okay. We can confirm that she is in attendance, Mayor, but she's having difficulty unmuting.
Okay, fully understand. It sounds like we have a full council then this evening. Let's move forward at this time then with the agenda. If there are any suggested changes, now would be a good time, and if not, the agenda will be approved as presented. And then we'll move on to our citizen comment period. Citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. Citizens may also comment on corresponding agenda items. In this hybrid meeting format, citizens can attend and give comment in person or via the online comment form at www.oakarbor.org/public comment or email the city clerk at jlindsay@oakarbor.org prior to 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or call area code 360-279-4571 to leave a voicemail to be played during the council meeting. Call to leave a voicemail after 5 p.m. on the Friday preceding the meeting and prior to 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting. When leaving a voicemail for public comment, please state your first and last name clearly and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Any public comments received since our last council meeting were forwarded to council. Comments pertaining to an agenda item will be displayed with that item. Comments on non-agenda items will be displayed then at this time. I see that that's been up, okay. 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 Thank you. We will now then move to the consent agenda. And I believe that we do have consent agenda items 4A, B, and C. And again, unless council has any questions with those, the consent of that agenda will be approved as presented. Okay, seeing no changes, no questions, we will move on to the mayor's comments. So October is Stormwater Awareness Month. The city of Oak Harbor works to take care of our local Puget Sound waterways. Check out our posts on Facebook and the city website. Single-use plastic bag ban goes into effect October 1st. Per the governor's office, this ban, which has delayed from January of this year, takes effect October 1st. See more information on the city website under departments, Public Works, and then solid waste. Upcoming events: United Methodist Church Blood Drive, Thursday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 1050 Southeast Ireland Street. Also, like to announce it is the 29th Annual Challenge Series, Saturday, October 16th, starting at 9 a.m. on Barrington Drive. That's sponsored by the Rotary Club of North Whidbey Island Sunrise. And then the Oak Harbor Main Street Acorn Hunt, downtown, starting October 25th. For more information, check them out on Facebook and Instagram. So then we will now, I did want to say, yes, I owe a debt of gratitude to council and certainly to Mayor Pro Tem, also to the many citizens and staff who have not only communicated get well wishes, but helped with deliveries and meals. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate the love and affection. It's been a slower recovery than I expected, but it is happening. So thank you for your help. And with that, then we will move on to our council comments. So open to council comments at this time. Not seeing any. Okay. Okay, then we will move on, it looks like then to item number 6A on our agenda. Item number 6A is ordinance number 1937, 2021-2022 Biennial Budget Amendment number 2. And I believe we have for this presentation our Finance Director, David Goldman. Welcome back, David.
Yep, and you welcome back yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, David Goldman, Finance Director. So this is the second amendment to the 2021-2022 biennial budget. It contains two sections. It contains amendments to the budget and adjustments to the budget. Adjustments do not change the overall total amount of a fund, while amendments do. And the amendments are what's required to be adopted by ordinance by the City Council. So the budget amendment item. So there's only one item for the budget amendment. This is for the program assistant and finance manager for grants, which was endorsed by the City Council American Rescue Plan Act Subcommittee and discussed with Council at the last workshop. These positions will be funded with the American Rescue Plan Act funds in the amount of $63,186 in 2021 and $192,715 in 2022. And these are the adjustment items. So the Windjammer Park landscaping maintenance funded by general fund balance. Per the bid award agenda bill that was approved by City Council on August 17th, increased costs will be absorbed by the Parks Department this year, while additional funding in the amount of $12,000 will be used from general fund balance in 2022. And the Whidbey Island Homeless Coalition. This was included in the agenda bill, but for some reason, an older version of the chart got in the agenda bill and it didn't show the changes to the adjustment on the chart. I updated that yesterday through the updating for the memo that was sent out to the mayor and council. At the July 28th City Council workshop, it was explained that using REIT funds for the donations would be ineligible. So the suggestion would be to fund it with general fund balance in the amount of $45,000. We'll see a little bit later on this meeting that the total donation is $50,000. Originally, it was slated for $5,000. Sorry, yeah, $5,000 of general fund balance and $45,000 of REIT 2. But because of the ineligibility of REIT 2, we're suggesting doing the whole thing with general fund balance. We considered using the American Rescue Plan Act funds, but due to subrecipient complexities, it's just recommended against, and to utilize general fund balance for the whole thing. So the recommended action is to hold a public hearing on this ordinance and then move to adopt the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goldman. So at this time, I would like to open the public hearing. I see that we have a hand up from Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor, if it's a public hearing, then you need to see if there's any public comments before you ask council, I think.
Okay, you're right. I'm a little rusty at this. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No problem, sir.
Yeah, let's turn to council first. I'm going to rely that if we had any kind of input from the public that our clerk would flag me down and let me know. So I'm assuming we have no public outside public comment yet. So let's turn to the council and ask for questions or input. I see Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Goldman, you had one slide up with 2 new positions. Could you explain those and the salaries that go with them a little more, please?
Oh, sure. The program assistant is a position in the Senior Services Fund. It was a position that existed in 2002 2020 and 2021, in 2020, but due to COVID, the position was reduced or laid off due to the slowdown of all activity related to COVID. This position is slated to be, is already budgeted for 2022, but using ARPA funds, we can start the position a little bit sooner and also fund it all the way through the end of 2024 using the American Rescue Plan Act funds. The program assistant salary, there's a range to the salary. I don't have it off the top of my head, but what we did to do these calculations was we just picked somewhere in the middle of the range and then added a certain percentage for benefits and then did a ratio to figure out, to estimate how many more months would be left in this year, assuming that the position may start in October sometime, for example. It's really just kind of an estimate for 2021. And for 2022, we use the full year salary. And the finance manager grants would actually run the entire grants program, the American Rescue Plan Act grants program, and also work on other grants as well, and be in charge of grant writing, would coordinate all the grant writing for the entire city, work with various department directors and various folks within the departments to try to gain as many grants as possible to help defray cost of projects that we're going to have to do in the future, by being able to utilize federal, state, or other agency type of grant funding. So that'll be the primary responsibility of that position.
Okay, so we're salary for a senior service position admin that was let go because of COVID. Are they open that this position is needed right now between October and the end?
Yes,
I didn't think they were completely open yet.
Yeah, as we talked about at the workshop, we did ask the council if we can start the recruiting process now. Of course, we won't make any decisions until they're approved by the city council, and the city council, did not have any objections at the workshop when we did bring that up to council. But yeah, they are open right now in recruitment.
Okay, but is the senior center open for this position now with all the COVID restrictions?
Oh,
Yes,
go
and
ahead.
this is Liz Lang, Mayor Pro Tem, and I would just speak to that saying, yes, we reopened in June and have reinstated a lot of our programs and looking forward to adding additional once we have the staff. So right now, we're able to be open and functioning, and the only thing holding us back from adding additional programming is the need for a staff member. But we are able to offer our programs and services under current COVID guidelines safely.
Okay, that's good. Mr. Goldman, if we are using the American Rescue Act funds and it goes through 2024, then where are the funds going to come from to pay those two salaries after that?
Okay. After 2024, the program assistant will be paid just like it was paid before COVID. It would just be paid from senior center funds. So from the revenue the senior center generates, or other revenues that they have as well. The finance manager grant is just until the end of 2024. This is not a position that is advertised as a full, as a permanent position. It is advertised as a term limited position through the end of 2024.
For the second position, grant writing, that one?
Correct.
For the whole city?
Correct.
Okay. Temp. Okay, so and so we will hear more about how the American Rescue Funds will be spent in the future. You have a committee working on that, but they will come to council for approval for the other ideas, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. We're meeting every 2 weeks, and we're going over the short list, and we're going over the items that make the most sense based on the criteria that was developed, and we will be bringing those to council once they've been refined a little bit further. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. I just needed a little more clarification. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilman Mack.
Thank you, Mayor Severns. Mr. Goldman, on the first part of that, on the Homeless Coalition, could you bring that screen back up there? And getting back to this American Rescue Plan, can you elaborate a little bit to me on the sub-recipient complexities?
Yes.
I mean, what does that really mean as far as layman's terms as to why we can't use some of these funds?
Well, you could use American Rescue Plan money for this. The only problem with that is when you provide money to another agency and then they spend it on other things, they become a subrecipient. They have the potential to become a subrecipient. And under federal guidelines, there's extensive rules and regulations in the guidelines regarding subrecipient monitoring. It basically means that we have to treat them almost like a subsidiary of the city when it comes to these funds only. We have to make sure that it's almost like we're acting like the grantee. Like we have to monitor how they spend the money. We have to ask them questions. We have to monitor their performance to see how the money's being spent on the entire project, not just the $45,000. The amount of staff time and the amount of work and just the burden, the administrative burden when it comes to that it's hard to quantify, but I've done this before. You know, I've had to do subrecipient monitoring in other places where I've worked, and they're actually, it's so intensive that they've actually dedicated staff members just to monitor subrecipients. It is a big administrative burden. If you calculate 5 hours a month times 12 months, and you just use an average salary with benefits, it adds up. It's almost,
Okay.
it's hard to really explain without actually, of doing it before,
Okay, I understand that part, that it could get complex. With that being said, have you talked to the people in charge at the Homeless Coalition about this complexity? Or is that something we're deciding how this is done in-house? In other words, can this be kept simple, that if we're going to donate or we're going to fund with a certain amount of dollars, can we as a city specify this money to be used as only for this, such as construction only, such as for beds or that type of thing? Can we not specify what to use these funds for to keep it simple?
You could do that in the agreement that's going to come up later in the meeting. You could specify exactly what they're going to use the funds for. The thing is, if you use federal funding and give it to a subrecipient, there's all these federal guidelines you have to follow. If we're just providing our own money, our own local sources of money, then we don't have to provide any reports or any subrecipient monitoring, based on the federal guidelines. We still, of course, will monitor to make sure that, we get receipts and that they're spending the money appropriately. But there's a lot more involved. There's Title VI items. There's just a lot more involved when you're using federal money compared to, using your own local funds.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Mack. So, Councilor Heisen.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome back.
Thank you.
I was just going to go ahead and make the motion to adopt the budget amendment if nobody else has. I move to adopt ordinance number 1937.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Mayor, Councilmember Wassinger seconded the
Apparently
motion.
we have no second.
Mayor,
So that,
Councilmember Wassinger seconded the motion.
Mayor,
oh, good, I'm sorry.
can you hear us in here,
Good.
Mayor?
So we do have a motion and a second. The motion was made by Councilor Heisen. The second was made by Councilor Wassinger to adopt ordinance number 1937, budget amendment number 2, amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget. Any other input or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. I heard an aye from Mayor Pro Tem, and it looks like 1, 2.
This is Councilmember Goebel. Can you hear me?
We can now.
Oh, awesome. I'm a yes vote.
Thank you. Get a win.
Thank you.
So it all opposed, same sign. Julie, help me, did we?
Mayor, that is unanimous.
It was unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for the confusion here. Then that concludes item number 6A. And we will then move on then to item number 8A, which is a,
Hey, Mayor?
yeah.
Mayor, excuse me. So on what I have on my computer, I have approval of a special meeting October 13th, budget session study. When I looked on the packet, it just has a date, but there's no time or whatever. And I know with some people working during the day, I was wondering when it was, or if another day would be better, like Thursday the 14th or the next week on the 20th, which is not a workshop day. I will be out of town on the 13th. I'm flying back from a christening that we've been trying to have for 2 years. So I'm not missing the christening, sorry, but I don't want to miss the budget either. But I know with Councilman Goebel's schedule, and she's here to approve it this year. Just wondering, I didn't see any times on that date, or if it could be possibly another day or the next week. But I have it down as 5CI, approval of, and the one we just did was 5CII. So somehow my packet's a little different. So, but it came before this item. So I didn't know if we were going to have discussion. It asked for a motion. So I didn't know when you were going to do that. Sorry, I've just had a question.
Sorry, I'm a little confused now, though. I don't see the 5CI. Can staff help me here?
In our packet, this is, so maybe it's supposed to be 6, but it says approval of special meeting October 13th, 2020 budget study session. And there's no time
2020?
given.
2020.
Huh.
That was last October.
What-
You have a page number?
Okay, never mind. Take it apart. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So that we will move on then at this time to section 8 on our agenda, contracts and agreements. Item number 8A is contract amendment number 2 with Moffatt and Nichols for FDOT Breakwater and float repair project. And it looks like we have our harbor master, Chris Sublett, and project engineer, Brett Arvidsson.
Good evening, this is Brett. Yes, we're here to talk about the City of Oak Harbor dock breakwater and float repair project, and this is amendment number 2 to the Moffatt and Nichol contract. Lisa, next slide, please. To give some background, is the marina experienced wind damage in February 2020, which was damaged FDOT. Unfortunately, we also had another early storm early this year in 2021, which further damaged the FDOT. Repair of both these damages is an insurance claim. And next slide, please. This shows some of the damage, while it doesn't look so severe on top from just looking at it. It's actually all the major tie rods holding the docks together are broken. So we actually lost that handrail over the side here earlier. Next slide, please. Additional work is we also had a Department of Commerce grant for improvements at the marina and actually had funds budgeted for the repairs. The grant work actually involved the kind of in-water work that the FDOT contractor, repair contractor would use, So combining both these projects provided cost efficiencies, though we had to keep the insurance tests segregated from the grant tests. Next slide, please. And this is the major fix we're going to be doing is fixing the pile guides, and you can tell they're highly deteriorated, so they're well in need of repair. Next slide, please. So our project sequence, Moffatt Nichol prepared the contract documents and the permit packages. We did obtain the necessary permits for the in-water work, which was quite extensive. We did advertise the project for bid and open bids, and the council did award the construction. We are looking at construction during this upcoming fall in-water window, which is here pretty shortly. Next slide, please. Getting on to amendment number 2. Amendment number 2 with Moffatt Nichol covers the construction period services for the project because their previous service mostly design and permitting. These services include construction administration, periodic inspections, submittal reviews, and any certifications necessary to complete the work. The total cost of this amendment is $43,900. Next slide, please. The insurance portion of this contract is budgeted at $21,444, and the other documents, which are grant eligible, are budgeted at $22,456 for the total of $43,900. Next slide, please. So our recommendation at this point is recommend the City Council authorize the mayor to sign contract amendment number 2 with Moffatt and Nichol in the amount of $43,900. Yeah. Questions?
Okay, Brett, thank you. Turn to Julie now. Make sure we've received no comments from the public.
That's correct, Mayor. We received no public comment.
Okay, turn to the council for discussion, questions, motions. I see Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. Brett, this increase in funds, will it still be covered by the insurance, or is it going to have to come out of general fund?
No, it's still part of it's still part of the insurance claim. So the $21,444 is insurance, and then the other parts coming from the grant funding.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Councilmember Servadius has his hand raised, Mayor.
Oh, okay. I can't see that. Councilor Servadius.
We're trying to figure out how to raise our hands in person. It's so odd. We're used to digitally doing that. Brett, just a quick question. The recommended action that you put up on the screen is slightly different than our packet. Yours is a contract amount of $43,900, and then in our packet it has a total contract amount. Is there a preferred way to word this?
Amendment number 2 is the $43,000, so I guess it'd be best to say increasing the contract by $43,900 to a total of, let me look at that. I don't have that number in front of me. Unfortunately, my screen is covered up.
So we have it in the packet of total amount of $135,609.
That would be the proper amount, yes.
All right, I'm happy to make the motion, but I'll pause to see if any of my peers had any more questions.
Okay, I'm not seeing any on my list, but are there any other questions? Any from council? Any council chambers? Okay. Back to you, Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. Brett, it was $43,900 was the Amendment 2 total, correct?
Yes, right, correct.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement, Amendment number 2, with Moffatt and Nichols, totaling $43,900, increasing the total contract amount to $135,609.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Motion is authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement, Amendment number 2 with Moffatt and Nichols, in the amount of $43,900, increasing the total contract amount to $135,609. Motion made by Councilor Servadius, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any other input or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand or cast your vote. Yes. So I see.
This is Councilmember Sorry, Mayor Severns.
Go ahead.
I was saying I'm casting my vote as a yes.
Okay, so I see those four, and help me out, Julie, with the chambers there.
Yes, Mayor, that is unanimous.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Brett. Nice
Yeah,
job.
can I add one thing? Unfortunately, we may be bringing another amendment in, another insurance claim. There was, our major channel marker in the harbor was hit by a boat. So we are working on getting that replaced. Unfortunately, and luckily it's requiring us to do in-water work, but we're talking to the DNR right now about amending our permit and maybe possibly doing a change order with our contractor. So I just want to give a heads up that we may be bringing something back in for you in the next month or so if we can get everything arranged to the insurance company.
Hi, Brett. Joel here.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett.
Yes.
Might be a question for you or Harbor Master Sublet. Did we also, I know in the windstorm, one of the kids pointed out, I think it's G11, one of those was tilting pretty bad. Is that the marker you're referring to, or is that a different marker? And then I looked the other day, and I think that marker is gone now.
It's gone. So, yeah, so we're trying to effect emergency repair for that. And, you know, of course, we have the permitting involved with that, but we've had some conversations, and hopefully we can actually expedite it with our process and talk to our contractor about getting it done, because we'll have the equipment available to do that.
Thank you.
But that is a second marker, right?
I'm not sure. Chris would have to refer to, I haven't actually seen it, so.
Thanks, Brett.
I don't believe Chris is here tonight.
Nope, I think that's right. Okay, thank you, Brett. We'll move on then to item number 8B, which is the Housing Action Plan Implementation Grant Opportunity. We have our senior planner, Dennis Lefebvre, tonight to present. Dennis?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It's good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. And talk about a grant that is being offered through the Department of Commerce, which is actually dovetailing very nicely into staff's actions that we've taken the last couple of months or so on, regarding the actions that evolved out of the Housing Action Plan that Council adopted in early June. There was about 20 different sets of actions that we could look at to increase and fortify our housing supply in the city of Oak Harbor. So we've been looking at the various options as kind of a priority list. And the Department of Commerce now is actually offering grants, affectionately known as the HAPPY Grant. It's the Housing Action Plan Implementation Grant. And there is no match required for this grant. It's up to $100,000 for communities of over 20,000 population, which we are. It is competitive statewide, and it would potentially cover staff's resources or provide funds so we could hire a consultant to do some of these work efforts. The application is due October 7th, so there's a fairly short time frame. And deliverables would be due in the middle of June of 2023. The application does require a mayor's letter of commitment with his signature. So that's why we are presenting tonight the opportunity to pursue this grant application and also assist in helping fund some of the efforts that staff is already engaged in implementing the Housing Action Plan. So the scope of work has not been defined. I'll be working on that in the next couple of weeks to meet the deadline, but I wanted to take this opportunity to make sure that the council is aware that this opportunity is here for some funds to assist with this progress. And we would need the recommended motion for tonight to move this application along. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, so thank you, Dennis. Before we do that, I'll make sure that Julie has not received any comments
That's
from the
correct.
public.
That's correct,
Okay.
Mayor. We received no comments.
Back to council for questions or input. Motions? Mayor Pro Tem Munns. I can't hear you. My screen?
I got it.
Okay.
I wanted to thank Mr. LaFever for jumping on this. It's always nice when a good grant comes by that we can take advantage of. So thank you very much for doing that. And if no one has questions, I'd be happy to make the motion. Any questions from other council?
So I'm not seeing any from my chair.
Okay, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of commitment as part of the application of the Washington Department of Commerce Housing Action Plan Implementation Grant Funds.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended action on the screen. Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilor Wassinger. Any other input or questions from council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Councilor Goebel, yes vote.
Okay,
Mayor, that is unanimous.
so that passes unanimously. Thank you very, very much, Dennis.
Thank you, Council.
Nice job there. So we'll move on to item number 8C, Active Transportation Plan, WSDOT grant. And for this evening, we have our Development Services Director, David Kuhl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is the Washington State DOT grant for active transportation. Next slide, please. Under the Active Transportation Plan, the grant was approved by the IRTPO at the county for this project. This has been going on for some time. CAC has been working on this since January. And so we've had the approval from that agency and we're ready to move forward with the grant application to the state. What this would do is it would create options for using the existing street network. So what it would also do, it could possibly create broad policies for streets, striping options, parking considerations, even bike trails in the existing street. And the benefit of that is you'd have alternative transportation options for people commuting back and forth to work or to the base. This request would add funding from WSDOT. And so that amount was $129,750 of federal funds, and the local agency funding is $20,250 for a grand total of $150,000 for the project. Next slide. So the recommendation is here for you, and we're available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, David. So before we do that, I'll verify with Julie. No input.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay.
We received no input from the public.
Moving back to council then, any questions for Mr. Kuhl or about the presentation? I see Councilor Mack has got a hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Kuhl, when you mentioned bike trails and bike paths, this is could be used for only existing streets, nothing off streets, as long as you put it on an existing street and do the striping or whatever is necessary. That would be the extent of that funding then for that particular item.
Yes, that's correct. You could stripe a bike path in the right-of-way, and you see that done in some places.
And we could do that on any street we desire, or is it main thoroughfares only?
Well, it'd have to be part of a plan, and so we'd have to work with the engineering department to make sure there's room in the right of way. And we'd have to follow a plan that would be set out so we could make sure that the bike area would be safe.
Okay, I understand. We could hook onto what we already have and stretch it out to wherever you wanted to, as long as the streets would provide the opportunity. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Mack. Any other questions? Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
if there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Fabulous.
I
Go
move
ahead, Councilor.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign a letter to the Washington State Department of Transportation applying for funding for the active transportation plan.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended motion on the screen, and that motion was made by Councilor Wassinger, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing no other input or questions, I'll turn to the council for all in favor. Signify by raising your hand or showing your yes vote.
Councilmember Goebel, yes vote.
Okay,
Mayor, that is unanimous.
great. Okay, so that passes unanimously. And then we will then go on to our next item, which is D, labor agreement, Oak Harbor Police Association commissioned unit. And I believe for that, we have our Human Resource Director, Emma House, to present.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council.
I don't think we're seeing your, yeah, there it is. Okay, go
Is it
ahead.
coming up now?
Up now. Okay.
Okay, let's see here if I can make it look good for you. Okay. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Emma House, Human Resources Director. I'm here this evening to present the collective bargaining agreements for the police department. Let me go ahead and see if I can see my screen. Here we go. This is to present the proposed labor agreements between the City of Oak Harbor Police Department and the Oak Harbor Police Association for City Council. There are two agreements. One is for the commissioned unit and the other is for the non-commissioned unit. They are both units of the police department. The current agreement did expire on December 31st of 2020. We were very fortunate to be able to complete negotiations with an internal labor management team. And you can see the labor management team members on the right-hand side. I would like to thank Blaine Oborn, our city administrator, Grant Weed, city attorney, David Goldman, finance director, and Chief Dresker of the police department for all of their assistance and time during all of the negotiation sessions. We had a total of 5 negotiation sessions. We did begin the process earlier in the year. Back in March is when we actually began the process with comparable data. But then we began negotiation sessions a couple months after that. On August 31st, we were very happy to come to a tentative agreement for a 3-year collective bargaining agreement for both the commissioned and the non-commissioned bargaining units. These agreements cover the years for 2021 through 2023, so to be expiring next on December 31st of 2023. The main negotiated items for both the non-commissioned unit and also the commissioned unit are these bullet points: the cost of living adjustment of 2% for all 3 years of the contract, 2021, 2022, and 2023. The health insurance cost share adjustment for dependent and family coverage from 75% to 80%. And we agreed tentatively to add one additional holiday beginning January 1st of 2022, and this is in recognition of the Juneteenth holiday. Other items that were negotiated, Specific to the two different groups, I have the commissioned here on one side and then the non-commissioned here on the other side. These are mainly specific to specialty pays or premium adjustments based on roles or assignments within the department for operational needs and functions. And here is an estimate of the overall costing, looking at the COLA and also the market adjustments that have been tentatively agreed on and during the term of the 3-year contracts. So at this time, if there's any questions, myself or any members of the Internal Labor Management team are available to answer those for you.
Before we turn to council, I'll verify we've gotten no input from the public regarding this item, Julie?
That's correct, Mayor. We received no input from the public.
Thank you very much for that. So we'll turn to council.
Mayor, Councilmember Wiesner has his hand raised.
Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make some comments towards our police union and just thank them. I don't know what else to say. It's been a rough year, and I know we've got some stuff that's pretty rough to work through, involving some state legislation and stuff that we're still working on. And we're going to do what we can to provide you guys the tools to be able to perform your job. And we did do a small market adjustment in there for the commissioned officers, and by no means, is that reflective of what we think you're worth, right? The reality is, we can only do what we can do, and we appreciate, the negotiations and how they went, and again, a sincere thank you to all the folks in blue for what you do for us every day and keeping our community safe, and we'll continue to do, or I'll continue to do what I can do to support you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wiesner. I'll turn to Councilor Heisen.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to extend my thanks, not just to the police department, but to city staff in general, who've been waiting very patiently for council to make a decision when it comes to cost of living allowances, and just very patient. And I really appreciate it. We have not forgotten about you. This has been very heavy on our mind, and I'm really, really pleased that this is moving forward, because these labor negotiations kind of set the tone for, the rest of the city. So we've all been pretty anxious to see how this resolves, and I'm really pleased to be moving forward. And I want to thank the negotiation team for keeping us apprised and, negotiating in good faith, knowing what our priorities and our limitations are. So I'm happy. I hope staff is relatively happy. Well done. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Heisen. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. Too many buttons on a phone. I also wanted to say thank you to the police department. I get many compliments all the time, how professional and how helpful you all are, and you make our city proud, and we are very proud of you all. I also want to say I'm glad this negotiation is done, and now we continue down the line to get the other agreements done too. Emma, I do have a question from you. Has the Officers Association actually signed the agreement before the meeting tonight?
Yes, the association has conducted a bargaining unit membership meeting, and they unanimously voted to approve both of the agreements.
Okay, thank you very much.
And they are signed.
Good. Thank you. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I was hoping that we would hear that from council, and I have to remind all that the process of these negotiations is not easy on either side of that table. You know, and that goes on for a period of time. I think we sometimes expect that that's just this normal thing. But when these contracts are negotiated, it is arduous. The process is arduous, and my hat's off to people on both sides. Thank you very much. And obviously, our police staff has had a more stressful year for certain reasons than perhaps ever. So thank you very much to all involved. Really appreciate it.
Mayor, could I make a quick comment?
Yes, you can, Chief.
So I've talked with, of course, my staff and officers, and I know they're not on tonight, but I would just like to say that I know they appreciate settling the contract. I know they appreciate the what we've been able to work out, and they do see the thanks that the city leaders, mayor and council members show as part of this. I know we've had council members reach out and ask what else can we do to show our support for our officers, and they appreciate that. In fact, we were talking about that today. And then additionally to that, the support the community has given us. We get pizza parties and all this stuff brought to us, and certainly we're not seeking that, but just it shows the community and the support. And we have a lot of dedicated officers here who have nothing but intentions of helping this community and working with this community to maintain safety. So again, just say thank you from the officers who aren't able to say that tonight.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
Mayor.
So let's move on to our next item, which I believe is item number 8E.
Mayor.
Labor agreement.
Mayor, we need a motion for 8.
Oh.
8D.
And I made it easy. This is D and E together.
And we did the no input on this, Julie, so turn back to council. Councilor Heisen.
Mayor.
Sorry I left my hand up. My apologies.
Oh, okay. So.
Mayor, Councilmember Servadius has his hand raised.
Great. Councilor Servadius.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to echo my peers' sentiments. I know that we've all said similar comments before, but whether it's fire or police, you guys put yourself in harm's way all the time, and specifically tonight, since we're talking about the police contract, Chief, just wanted to also extend my sincere gratitude to your team and what they do. I think even on the best day, you guys probably see the worst of society, and it's sad. I mean, that's not always the case, but often you're interacting in tough situations, and you're not seeing the highlights sometimes of society. You're seeing the other side of it. And so I actually had a chance to watch a couple of your officers at Walmart the other day, which I'm assuming it was a shoplifting call that they were responding to, and like so many times, they just exercised incredible discretion, patience while being verbally abused and assaulted verbally. And, they sit there and they take it. And so I appreciate them. And as always, it's a challenge of trying to do all we can and be able to pay for it in the long term. So hopefully they're watching and know that we all appreciate them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Servadius. So we do still need a motion for this, and the recommended action is on the board there. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the mayor to sign the labor agreement by and between the City of Oak Harbor and the Oak Harbor Police Association commissioned unit.
A second.
Second.
Okay, so the recommended action reads just a little different to cover the years 20, 21, 22, and 23. Could we add that to your motion, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I was reading off of my packet, not off of the slide. Between a phone and an iPad, it's not coming across. Sorry, I'm a little rusty too.
No problem.
Yes, I will add the years 2021, 2022, and 2023. Thank you for catching that.
Certainly. Do I hear
I
it?
could also ask for a clarification. I think I heard Mayor Pro Tem Munn's reference just the commissioned officers agreement in the motion. If the intent is to include both the commissioned and non-commissioned, that might be a proper clarification, unless you want to do it in two separate motions.
Point of
I
order,
think we
Mayor.
have clarification coming up next for the non-commission.
Okay, if the intent is to do it in two separate motions, that is fine.
Oh, thanks. Okay. So am I right on that, Emma?
It's the same presentation. We actually just covered both of the agreements. So the motion could just read labor agreements, or if we want to specify both commissioned and non-commissioned.
Okay. So it could say, oh, cover police labor agreement to cover those years, and then we would cover both of them.
Yeah, she did a motion together, or they can read the motion in the packet, Mayor, and do it separately. So it's up to council how they want to do it.
I'll go back to Mayor Pro Tem. I think that you were on the road to covering both of them with one motion.
Yes, I can do that. Motion, I'll restate it. Motion to authorize the mayor to sign the labor agreement by and between the city of Oak Harbor and the Oak Harbor Police Association to cover the years of 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. The motion now reads like the recommended action before us. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilor Servatius. Any other input or questions? All in favor, signify by raising your hand or saying yes. Okay. How we doing, Julie?
Mayor, that is unanimous, except I think we have lost Councilmember Goebel now to her work.
Okay. She's probably back out on the field. So we will show them 6 in favor, and then 1 just absent vote, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so that passes. And we will now then move on to item number 8F, Professional Services Agreement Internet Provider. And it looks like tonight we have both Sabrina and Sandra, Sabrina Combs and Sandra Place.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Council members. Tonight, I will be presenting the professional service agreement for our internet provider. Next slide, please. On March 24th, 2021, our communications IT manager, Sabrina Combs, presented the Ziply Fiber contract consideration to City Council. And at that time, City Council requested that staff receive additional bids to identify possibly new contractors as internet providers. This current contract will expire on October 1st, 2021. Next slide, please. The request for proposal went out. The proposals included a 1 gigabyte speed of service for 2 locations, one at City Hall and one's located at the Clean Water Facility. And we have that for redundancy purposes. Next slide, please. The city received 3 quotes, one from Granite Government Solutions, Wave Business, and Ziply Fiber. Their proposals included rates for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, and 60 months. Next slide, please. This is just a breakdown of what they included for their pricing for those terms. And at the very last column, it's just double because of the redundancy. So that will be the total that we'll be looking at tonight. Next slide, please. Staff is recommending selecting Wave Business for a term of 36 months. This will align us with our budget years. And this is for 2 monthly subscriptions of 1 gigabytes each. This recommendation is a cost reduction of $136 per month with a significant increase in speed. Next slide, please. And we have a motion for your for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Wave Business for our internet services in the amount of $732 per month times 2 for 2 locations and receiving 1 gigabyte of internet service for a total of $1,464 for a term of 36 months. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, we don't have questions, but if you have questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. So I'll turn to Julie, make sure that no comments were received from the public.
That's correct, Mayor. We received no comments from the public.
Okay, thank you. Turn back then to council, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Miss Sandra Place, what are the 2 locations that this extra speed would be put in, please?
It's actually for the entire city, Councilmember Munns, and it's our main server is down at the Clean Water Facility, and our redundancy server is at City Hall.
Oh, okay, but it would be all of the staff wherever their office is.
That's correct. So for instance, if one of the lines went down, let's just say it was severed at the Clean Water Facility, the City Hall one would pick up at that point in time as the redundancy.
Okay, and this should be completed by when?
Our understanding is that it's just a flip of the switch. The contract ends with Ziply currently on October 1st. And then the very next day we would switch to Wave is what I'm understanding.
And we'll see fireworks go off in the city because there's faster, reliable speed.
At least from staff, yes, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to make such a joke.
Mayor, question?
Oh, yes, Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. Sandra, thank you and staff for going back out and going to bat. It's always good to do, negotiations, and it looks like we'll save a little bit of money with Wave here. Question I have is, while a gig sounds cool, hardware improvements, do we need to make any hardware improvements, switches, routers, access points to take advantage of a gigabyte? Or could we get by with 500 megabytes and still save more money? I mean, that's a lot of bandwidth and a lot of speed, but are we in a position to take advantage of that?
It is my understanding that we do not need additional hardware. We did have this discussion about would the 1 gigabyte, how would that cover the city? And definitely it's more than enough for our current needs. We did not address going lower at this time, but our understanding is that we do not need new hardware.
And just to jump in here, we had a conversation with our IT care consultants, and they had recommended this as the speed. When we put together the RFP, Councilmember Servadius, we spoke to them about what language we should use and what we should be requesting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Any other council? Motions?
Mayor?
Yes.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Wave Business for internet services in the amount of $732 per month times 2 for 2 office locations to receive 1 gigabyte of internet service for a total of $1,464 for a term of 36 months.
Okay.
Second.
Motion. Got a motion and a second now. The motion reads exactly like the recommended motion on the screen. Motion was made by Councilor Wassinger and a second made by Councilor Servadius. Any other input or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand or signify by saying yes. Well, now I see the hands in council chambers for the first time. Thank you. Whoever flipped that one, and looks like we've got 3 from elsewhere, Councilor Mack, Heisen, and Moon, so that passes 6. And we don't have our 7th member with us any longer this evening, so that passes unanimously. Thank you. So we are off then to item number 8G, Professional Services Agreement, Whidbey Homeless Coalition Sheltering Services. And we're back with our senior planner, Dennis Lefebvre. Dennis?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lefebvre had to go catch a ferry, so I'll be pinch hitting for him here tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cool. So we have our Development Services Director. Take it away, David.
Thank you. The Whidbey Homeless Coalition Professional Services Agreement has been around for a while. And as you know, that was in the budget for 21-22. And then earlier tonight, you went ahead and approved funds from a different source. So thank you for doing that. Next slide, please. The source of funds was discussed at the July 28th, 21 workshop. And then once again tonight, you went ahead and made that decision. So that was great. As you know, the Washington State Constitution permits funds for necessary support of poor and infirmed. And so this particular project will qualify for this particular project. The Whidbey Homeless Coalition is going to be providing fire suppression system, showers, and laundry facilities in the permanent haven, which will be located in Coopville. And so this is a real win for the community to get this done. The professional services agreement requires the mayor's signature. And so we are available for any questions you may have. Next slide. This is your recommended motion. Move to authorize the mayor to sign the Whidbey Homeless Coalition Professional Services Agreement in the amount of $50,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cool. So I'll turn to our clerk, Julie, make sure that we've got no input from the public on this item.
That's correct, Mayor. We received no input regarding this item.
Thank you, Julie. Turn back to council for questions or input.
Mayor, this is Councilmember.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh.
Mayor Pro Tem Munz.
Thank you, Mayor. I think someone else was trying to make a comment before me, but I didn't recognize the voice.
Oh, it was Councilmember Wassinger, Mayor Pro Tem, but please go ahead. No hurry.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cool, what is the address of this new permanent location? I keep trying to figure out where it is, where they're going to put in this fire suppressant system and stuff. Do you know where it's actually located, not instead of just Coopville?
I'm not sure exactly where the building is located, quite honestly.
David, I could answer that.
Okay.
It's on SR 20 in Morse, just south of the Transit Authority and across the street from the gun club. I believe it's the old Jehovah's Witness building that was purchased with grant funding the city supported. So that's the location.
Oh, okay. So it's just down from Ryan's house, a little further to okay. Thank you very much. All right, I think it's Wassinger's time.
Thank you. So my question was maybe just more of a technical, this was already included in our budget, so is the reason that we have to make a motion and approve it again because we changed the funding source to the general fund? Is that why we have to go through this process? It's just more a technical question.
That's partially correct. It is a different funding source, but we still need to do the professional services agreement with the Whidbey Homeless Coalition. So even though it's an approved in your budget, we need to do the PSA as an actual contract with them.
All right, got it. Thank you.
It's also about the staff amount that we can do internally, so we need council approval.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from council? Motions?
I'll take it on, Mayor.
And is that, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Servadius.
Councilor Servadius, sorry, I just.
The problem, the mask doesn't help.
Chambers, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, take it.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the Whidbey Homeless Coalition Professional Services Agreement in the amount of $50,000.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended action on the screen. Motion made by Councilor Servadius, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying yes. I think I can almost see the council. That looks like it's unanimous.
That's
On
correct, Mayor.
council,
That
in
is
chambers,
correct.
and okay, so that passes 6 to nothing. That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, at this time, we have a plan to move into executive session. The council will take a short recess and then move to the session to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease per RCW 423110, section 1C. Anticipated duration for this executive session is 1/2 hour. Action may or may not be taken upon return to the open session. And then executive sessions are not open to the public. So we will adjourn for a short recess and start the executive session at 7:20.
Thank you.
Yeah, staff can go ahead and,
Yeah, Lisa, let me know when we're back in.
Okay, Mayor, we're live.
Okay, I'd like to reconvene our regular city council meeting. We have been in executive session. That is September 21st. No decisions were made in executive session. And so I'll just turn to council at this point in time. If there's no further business, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raising hands works. Thank you very much. And thanks for your patience this evening.